We beseech you to be only with abundant favor as your servant whom you have been pleased to call to perform an important trust in this county and the Republic of Kenya. Let your blessing descend upon us here, simple and grand, and with truth and consider all matters that shall come under liberation in such as and of manner as promote your honor and glory, and to advance peace, prosperity, and welfare of our county and of those interests you have committed to our church. Amen. Clerk, confirm whether we have quorum.
Honorable Speaker, quorum is not present.
Now direct to the office of Sergeant Atam. The bell to be rung for 10 minutes.
Honorable Speaker, quorum is now present.
Orders of business.
Order number 1, administration of oath.
Next order.
Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Next order.
Order number 3, messages.
Next order.
Order number 4, petitions.
Next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Honorable Fred.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand to take on the report on Labor and Justice in the Legal Affairs Committee. In fact, on the local authority staff, that report. I take.
Thank you, Honorable Fred. Honorable members, we acknowledge the receipt of the Labor, Justice and Legal Affairs Committee. This was settled for the notice of motion and debate to be done today in the afternoon as per the House Business Committee. Honorable Walder.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to table a report on the Family and Budget Approach Committee for the Nandi County Program-Based Budget Estimates for financial year 2022-2023. I beg to table.
Okay, thank you, Walter. Okay. Okay, honorable members, we acknowledge the receipt of the County Budget and Appropriation Committee on the Nandi program-based budget estimates. This one has been settled for notice today, and then debate be done tomorrow afternoon. Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Honorable Fred.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to give a motion on Labor Justice and Legal Affairs Committee before legal authority staff gradually.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Fred. Next, Honorable Walter.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I wish to give a notice of motion that this House adopt the report of County Budget and Appropriation Committee on the County program-based budget for financial year 2022-2023. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, members. Now, next order.
Order number 7, statements.
Next order.
Order number 8, pronouncement of budget highlights and revenue raising measures for financial year 2022-2023 by the CEC for finance and economic planning.
The CEC, the Sergeant Nathan. Okay, and continue the CC for finance.
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. This is my humble duty again to present the last budget of Tukatai's first 5 years in government. Thank you. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, members of this honorable House, residents of Nandi, members of the 4th Estate, distinguished guests present, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to present this budget statement to this House for the county government of Nandi on this day, 8th June, highlighting the county budget policy and revenue raising measures for the fiscal year 2022-2023. Mr. Speaker, it is once again a privilege for me to present to this honorable House and to the great people of Nandi the highlights of financial year 2022-2023 budget, the 5th budget under the Tukatai administration. Mr. Speaker, the presentation of this statement is in fulfillment of the requirements of Section 130, subsection 1 and 2 of the Public Finance Management Act of 2012 and the Standing Order number 216 of the County Assembly. Mr. Speaker, before I proceed, allow me to take this early opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to the honorable members of this House for the support they have accorded me, the County Treasury, and the entire County Executive for the 4 years. This House, Mr. Speaker, approved the 2022 County Fiscal Strategy paper submitted in December of 2021, which laid the basis for the preparation of the budget estimates for financial year 2022-2023. Mr. Speaker, I also wish to thank more particularly the Budget and Appropriations Committee under the chairmanship of Walter Tenor and other sectoral committees of this Honorable House for the constructive improvements and the support in the review of the financial year 2022-2023 budget estimates, as well as approval of the various policy documents that have in the past 4 years submitted to this House. Mr. Speaker, Excellency Governor Sang took office in 2017. At the time, the county had just completed the implementation of the first County Integrated Development Plan of 2013-2017 and was in the process of preparing the second generation CIDP with the theme Achieving Sustainable and All-Inclusive Socioeconomic Transformation. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, it has been an extraordinary journey of transformation and growth in the county. Mr. Speaker, we consistently implemented a package of bold economic and structural reforms within the framework of the CDP, the Governor's Manifesto, and the third medium-term plan of the Kenya Vision 2030. And as such, Mr. Speaker, we've made tremendous progress on many fronts. Now, allow me to touch on the financial year, the fiscal year 2022-23 budget and policy context in terms of the various economies. Under the global economy, Mr. Speaker, this year's budget has been prepared against a background of a moderate global growth of 4.4% from a recovery of 5.9% in 2021. The global economy contracted by 3.1% in 2020 following the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. However, there are risks to this growth outlook, likely from possible re-emergence of COVID-19 pandemic and the ongoing conflict in Eastern Europe. In our domestic economy, Mr. Speaker, our Kenyan economy demonstrated some remarkable resilience to the COVID-19 shock in 2020 and a staged strong recovery in 2021. Following the easing of COVID-19 restrictions, the reopening of the economy as well as targeted stimulus interventions by the government, the economy registered a strong recovery of 9.9% in the third quarter of 2021. Overall, the economy is estimated to have expanded by 7.6% in 2021, a much stronger level from the contraction of 3% in 2020. So, Speaker, in 2022, the economy is projected to stabilize at 6%, supported by recoveries in agriculture, industry, and service sectors. The foreign exchange market is likely expected to remain stable, with forex reserves providing buffers against shocks in the foreign exchange market. The current account deficit is projected at 5.9% of GDP in 2022, supported by a rebound in horticulture and tea exports, as well as increased inflows of remittances from diaspora. Mr. Speaker, our county then works in the context of both the global and the domestic economy. In realization of this, we've taken into account some recent economic developments on the global and domestic scenes in framing this budget, and we're considering the transitional year in the Kenyan political landscape, with the general elections coming in the next 2 months. So a quick overview of our development milestones, Mr. Speaker, is that I'm happy to report to this House and the people of Nandi that we have made some progress towards achieving our goals. Specifically, Mr. Speaker, number one is that the movement of goods and people around the county made cheaper and more effective through improved accessibility achieved by grading of 2,382 kilometers, graveling of 762 kilometers, dosing of 598 kilometers of roadworks, and the government has also been able to construct a total of 12 box culverts, 2 bridge decks have been installed, 2,500 meters of pipe culverts across the county, and constructed footbridges in Dalat, Isero, Sokiot, and Magoy. Mr. Speaker, more of our farmers have now been able to have better animal health management through vaccination programs, which has enabled them to increase productivity, earn more income, and make Nandi a more food secure county. Mr. Speaker, the construction of the Nandi Cooperative Creameries is one of the county's flagship projects, which is at completion stage, with the installation of processing machines actually completed. Mr. Speaker, the construction of the 30 cooling structures, coupled with the subsidized AI program, is still expected to transform and commercialize the dairy sector, being the economic outstay of our county. Mr. Speaker, in a bid to improve agricultural mechanization, we've acquired 8 farm tractors with assorted implements which are accessible to the farmers in the county at subsidized rates. The construction of the coffee mill in Children's County is ongoing towards completion stage, which will be equipped immediately for guaranteed returns to coffee farmers through value addition. Mr. Speaker, on increased access to basic education, the government has been able to construct and operationalize 170 ECD classrooms, 54 are being completed, and 12 vocational training centers across the county. We've also managed to recruit 1,450 ECD caregivers, 117 vocational training center instructors. Mr. Speaker, the government has also disbursed a total of 240 million shillings to needy and deserving students and 84 million shillings to students in our vocational training centers as capitation fees. Mr. Speaker, in a bid to improve efficiency in service delivery, the government, in collaboration with World Bank, has enhanced town and urban areas sanitation in Kapsabet municipality through extension of the sewer lines by 1.5 kilometers. In addition, the government has constructed 6 kilometers of non-motorized transport facilities, an athletics racing track in Kapsabet, the ongoing construction of major roads in Kapsabet town and tarmacking of the same, the installation of street lights and 7 high-mast floodlights in major streets and urban areas within the county. Mr. Speaker, the government has also constructed and equipped a data center, established a toll-free call center for all county government services, inquiries at Kapsabet, as well as improved public engagement through the development of the Public Participation and Civic Education Act of 2020, which was approved in this House. Mr. Speaker, in a bid to promote industrial development, the county is still in the process of establishing a textile and apparel unit in Mosoriat, which is at 90% completion. In order to create a conducive business environment, we've also established and operationalized 3 fresh produce markets, 5 Juakali sheds, and an open-air market, as well as ablution blocks in the markets, constructed 8 modern market stalls across the county, established bus parks in Kapsabet, Nandi Hills, and the one that is ongoing in Mosoria. Mr. Speaker, there are also other development programs geared towards nurturing and promoting talent and sports among the youth, including the 95% completion of phase 1 of the Kipchoge Modern Athletics Training Camp, and the second phase being at 90% completion. There is also ongoing equipping of the facility as we speak. In addition, Mr. Speaker, the government has improved 8 sport fields in the county and constructed Kaptumo and Kipchoge Sports Ground, which are now complete. Mr. Speaker, we've also invested in critical social sectors of the economy through establishment of the Nandi County Youth Service, which has since created employment to over 700 youth, distributed 11 welding machines to youth groups, 85 salon kits, and 252 sewing machines to women groups, 562 assorted assistive devices to PWDs across the county. Considering, Mr. Speaker, considerable progress has been made by the government in its quest to ensure that the citizens have access to safe, clean water. To this end, 211 water projects have successfully been implemented and operationalized, in addition to acquisition of the 2 drilling rigs that facilitate drilling of water, of boreholes. To mention just a few, we have Tapoyat, we have, that is in Nandi Hills, Kipsamoite in Sangalo, Kapkechu in Chemundu, Mosoria Primary School, Nandi Primary School, Kapche Blanket in Chemase, Sigawet in Tidred, Sigino in Anai, Kaiboi and Kabiet, with a number of them queued already at the department awaiting drilling. Mr. Speaker, the development of the county special plan to guide land use at the county is critical, and this plan is currently at 60% level of completion. We've also equipped our county referral hospital with specialized equipment, including the renal unit, the MRI, CT scan, and the dental unit. Mr. Speaker, I would really want to encourage all of us to make use of these facilities, which are aimed at improving accessibility to health. The government, Mr. Speaker, has also ensured quality and accessible health care to the people in making a number of improvements. So there have been improvement of infrastructure through completion and operationalization of the trauma centers in Kabiet and Nandi Hills. Constructed and opened 15 new dispensaries and renovated 98 health facilities across the county, with ongoing construction of a modern hospital complex with EMS mother-baby unit at KCRH and 2 complex hospitals in Kobujoy and Chepcherwai. We've also, Mr. Speaker, established 15 ICU beds at KCRH with an operational oxygen plant and an isolation center, and another ICU at Nandi Hills Sub-County Hospital with more ICU units planned for the new MCH at KCRH, and also a new ICU unit at Chepcherwai Hospital Complex. Acquiring 10, another thing, Mr. Speaker, also is that we managed to fully utilize the 10 fully loaded ambulances that improve referral and emergency response services. Enhancing smooth delivery of healthcare services through elevation of 54,000 water tank at the KCRH, which has actually given a solution to the perennial water shortages in the hospitals. We've also done power upgrades and installation of standby generators at KCRH, Nandi Hills, Kaptumo, Kabiet, Serem, Osoriot, and Chepcheroi. We've increased the doctor and nurse to patient ratio through hiring and promoting of over 400 healthcare workers, including the medical officers, clinical officers, nurses, pharmaceutical technologists, and laboratory technologists. We've enhanced delivery of specialized healthcare services by establishing and operationalizing a renal unit, an oncology and MRI units at KCRH and Nandi Hills Sub-County Hospital. We also managed to digitize the delivery of healthcare services through installation and operationalization of the health management information system, which has improved the track monitoring, revenue, staffing, and service delivery. We've also promoted universal healthcare through mass NHIF registrations of 20,000 citizens, which has increased the revenue collections and reduced the burden of healthcare on the population. So, Speaker, we are proud of these achievements as they have happened through collective participation, partnerships, and the usual dynamism of the various stakeholders. Mr. Speaker, in spite of these achievements, the implementation of the financial year 2021-22 budget was faced with the following challenges. There was the underperformance in our local revenue due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which affected businesses, and also pending court cases relating to a number of our revenue streams, including the TSAs, land rates, which are actually our core sources of local revenue. We've also had high expectations from the public for development and other socioeconomic programs. There have also been inadequate financial resources to finance the development programs. There's also a big challenge of expanding wage bill, which limits funds meant for development. And lastly, the delays in disbursement of funds from the national government has affected our development programs. So, Speaker, I wish to go to the programs now under the 2022-2023 budget. And at this point, I want to mention, Mr. Speaker, that the government is still committed in implementing priority programs under the CIDP 2018-2022 and the annual development of 2021-2022 to achieve the aspirations of its citizens and ensure that resources are optimally allocated to high-impact programs during this period. Mr. Speaker, the government will undertake the following targeted strategic interventions to achieve a resilient and a sustained economic recovery. So, one is the foremost is completion of the ongoing projects. Emphasis shall be given to completion, equipping, and operationalization of all ongoing capital projects, and in particular the infrastructure ones with high impact on poverty reduction, equity, and employment creation. These ongoing projects include the hospital complex with mother-baby unit at KCRH, the Nandi Cooperative Creameries at Kabiet, the Nandi Textile and apparel unit in Mosoriot, Eliud Kipchoge training camp in Kapsabet, among others. Equipping with the requisite equipment the complete yet not operational projects. This, Mr. Speaker, relate majorly to the health facilities, the ECDE centers, the water projects, the distribution lines, power and water connection, among other things. Mr. Speaker, we also wish to ensure that we settle all the pending bills which we still owe a significant amount to suppliers, occasioned majorly by the under-realized revenues against the projected targets. In this regard, Mr. Speaker, the government in financial year 22-23 aims to settle the pending bills and accrue and to bring them to a minimum amount as possible. Post-COVID-19 recovery. Consideration, Mr. Speaker, has further been given to interventions to support the post-COVID-19 recovery as indicated in the socio-economic recovery and re-engineering strategy, including the disaster, emergency preparedness, youth and vulnerable empowerment programs such as the Nandi County Youth Service. So the fiscal framework for the financial year 2022-2023 budget, Mr. Speaker, and the medium term is designed to support economic recovery and reduce the deficit that we've been operating under. We aim at mobilizing the revenue through the ongoing reforms in the revenue administration. Mr. Speaker, the focus therefore will be directed towards the most critical needs that are expected to accelerate completion of ongoing critical infrastructure projects. So the resource envelope that we are working with in this budget, the total estimated revenue for the financial year 2022-2023 is 8,091,803,727. This comprises of 6.99 billion Kenya shillings as equitable share, 321 million shillings as on-source revenue, 184 million shillings as conditional grants from NARIC, SDSP, and KISIP, and 595 million shillings as balances that we anticipate to carry forward from this current financial year. Mr. Speaker, conditional allocations shall be budgeted by the line departments once the County Allocation of Revenue Act 2022 has been published and approved both by Parliament and Senate. On the expenditure, Mr. Speaker, we are classifying this broadly into development and recurrent. Under recurrent expenditure, Mr. Speaker, the cumulative recurrent for the financial year 2022-2023 is estimated to be 5.9 billion, 5,972,057,015. This translates to about 73.8% of the cumulative budget. This is composed of personnel emoluments amounting to 3.9 billion, which translates to 48.23% of the total budget, and operations and maintenance amounting to 2,069,033,954, which is 25.5% of the total budget. It is worth noting, Mr. Speaker, however, that the recurrent expenditure includes 669 million shillings allocated to the County Assembly as per the budget ceiling issued by the Commissioner for Revenue Allocation. Under the development expenditure, Mr. Speaker, the total amount is 2,119,746,711 of the total revenue, Mr. Speaker. Among the departments with high development allocations include health and sanitation, agriculture and cooperative development, transport and infrastructure. The County Assembly has been allocated 100 million shillings to facilitate the completion of the County Assembly complex. The highlights of the budget, as summarized, Mr. Speaker, is that we want to achieve, or a lot has been accomplished in the 4 years, and have laid a solid foundation and built the infrastructure to support more businesses to flourish. Mr. Speaker, we will continue to prioritize social spending in support of quality, accessible healthcare, basic education, vocational training, and empowerment of special groups. We will continue in this budget to cushion the workforce through provision of medical cover. Mr. Speaker, given the critical role of the infrastructure, we will also need to invest a good amount in key infrastructural facilities as follows. Improving access to health care. The allocation, Mr. Speaker, despite a huge chunk of the budget going to clear the ongoing works, we'll still need to make provision for equipping of the already complete ones. Therefore, I have allocated in this budget 40 million for the completion and equipping and operationalization of the various health facilities across the county. Made 22.5 million shillings for medical equipment, 89 million shillings for the new hospital complex at KCRH, 26.5 million for completion of Chepchirwai Hospital, 7 million for completion of Mogo Beach Hospital. Mr. Speaker, I've also allocated 246.7 million shillings for completion of pending bills and other ongoing works in the health sector. Mr. Speaker, for the benefit of a healthy workforce, I have proposed an allocation of 110 million shillings towards the medical insurance cover for all our county employees. Under agriculture, Mr. Speaker, we recognize that without a strong agricultural sector, a number of our industrialization strategies will not be achieved. So, in this budget, therefore, I've proposed the following: 20 million for purchase of farmers' cooperative tea factory land in Nandi Hills, 25 million for the county veterinary and agricultural revolving fund, 2.5 for purchase of agrochemicals, 2.5 for acaricides, and 3 million for renovation of kettle dips. 97.9 million is a conditional grant under NARIC, 36 million for SDSP, and another 12 million which is counterpart contributions. So, Speaker, I've also allocated 171.7 million for completion of ongoing works within the department. I've also, in these estimates, allocated 12.9 million shillings for offsetting of the pending bills. Under road network, Mr. Speaker, we need to enhance and ease the transportation of goods in the county, and the allocation, therefore, is as follows: 135 million Kenya shillings for completion of ongoing roadworks across the county, 59.1 Kenya shillings million for hire and lease of equipment, 8 million shillings for acquisition of Maram sites and Maram, 24 million for fuel county-owned machinery for roadworks to complete the remaining projects, 30 million for bridges and culverts, and 5 million for emergency bridges across. There is also 69.9 million shillings for offsetting of pending bills in the sector. Investing in youth and vulnerable groups. We are keen on this sector of nurturing youth talent, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, the allocation is as follows: 57.2 million shillings for completion of the departmental ongoing works in progress, 9 million for improvement of community sports fields across, 1.3 for maintenance of Kaptuma Stadium, and 2 million for maintenance of Kipchoge Complex Field. 4 million for purchase of sports equipment, and another 4 million for purchase of car wash machines. In addition, Mr. Speaker, we intend to continue providing at least 30% of government tenders to youth, women, and people living with disability for socio-economic empowerment. Under tourism, culture, and social welfare, Mr. Speaker, we want to ensure that there is competitiveness and attraction of both domestic and international tourists. And we need to promote and develop tourism, conserve our county heritage, and promote a vibrant arts culture. I've therefore set aside 3.7 million for the fencing of Kamatargui Conservancy, which shall then be able to attract a private investor to do some extensive work there. 5.5 million for completion of ongoing works at Chapkit, and also Jean-Marie Seronay Social Hall in Tindiret. Mr. Speaker, under public service, we made the following allocations. 60.3 million shillings is for completion of the Governor's Office, 50 million for Kenya Informal Settlement Project 2, which is a donor-funded project, and this is largely at Mosoriat Center. 8 million for the excavation of dump site and the fencing. 10.5 for acquisition of a self-loading truck. 4 million for extension of sewer lines within Kapsabet municipality. 5 million for construction of ablution blocks in Baraton. 26 million for pending bills. Under access to quality basic and technical education, I've allocated, Mr. Speaker, 149.5 million shillings for completion of all the ECDs that are ongoing and the VTC projects across the county, both current and the previous ones. 48.2 for offsetting of pending bills, and a further 60 million for the education bursary fund. Under environment, water, and natural resources, Mr. Speaker, we need to ensure sustainable access to continuous clean piped water, reclamation, conservation, and protection of water catchment areas. I've set aside 30 million for completion and operationalization of water projects across the county. 10 million as a subsidy that goes to Kapsabet Nandi Water and Sanitation Company. 6.5 million for purchase of casings and drilling accessories for boreholes, and a further 5 million for drilling towards fuel for drilling rigs. 15 million towards the preparation of the county special plan. 5 million to preparation of physical development plans, and 156.2 million for ongoing works in the sector, and a further 70 million to cater for pending bills. Climate change, Mr. Speaker, also needs to be catered, and it is in this regard that I have allocated 7.3 million for programs that will assist county build resilience against climate change. Conducive environment for business, and this is to touch on trade, Mr. Speaker. This budget has allocated 28.7 million shillings for completion and operationalization of the various projects initiated by the department, and a further 10 million for construction of border sheds in the county. I've also allocated 30.8 million shillings for completion of ongoing works, and a further 15.9 for payment of pending bills. Mr. Speaker, as a way of revenue enhancement, the county maintain a strong revenue effort over the medium term. Several measures, Mr. Speaker, have been proposed in the Finance Bill of 2022, which I'm submitting together with these estimates for the fiscal year 2022-2023 for review and approval by this Honorable House. Some of these proposals, Mr. Speaker, include enhancing revenue collection, strict compliance, adoption of revenue enhancement best practice, use of IT, enhanced enforcement, improvement of parking sites, enhancement of property rates collection, expansion of revenue bases, maintenance of revenue collection and management. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, this budget has been carefully prepared to balance the difficult choices we have to make in order to move forward. I believe that in this budget we've made the right decisions to help us propel. Despite our limited resources, Mr. Speaker, I've considered optimal allocation of resources to poor programs, especially in areas of health, water, social protection, education, food security, and infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, the initiatives conducted by the county government so far have been able to yield fruit. And the focus, therefore, in this budget, I reiterate, is the completion and operationalization of the key development priorities which are identified in the CIDP 2018-2022. And also, we are transitioning to the next CIDP, which is the third generation CIDP 2023-2027, with various strategic objectives. I wish, as I conclude, Mr. Speaker, to thank all the residents of Nandi and all the development partners for their effort and their contributions they have made in ensuring that we implement our budget. I want to ask, and sincerely so, for continued understanding and cooperation of all the stakeholders as we collectively strengthen our economy and deliver the prosperity to our beloved county. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, I wish to submit to this House the budget estimates for consideration of the above proposal. The earliest approval of this budget will help us to achieve the
efforts that we are envisaged to. I hereby request that this House, that they deliberate and promptly give it approval. God bless Nandi. God bless Kenya. Asanteni sana.
Okay, thank you, the CC, for the highlight. And I think members, the CC have said it is a prayer that you approve this budget highlight as you discuss. Otherwise, thank you for coming and to continue. Okay, Sergeant Adam, I think the stranger is in the house now. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay. Next order.
Order number 9, adjournment.
So members, being no any other business, this house is adjourned to today, 2:30 afternoon.